The examination for the post of guardian angel. Mr. Sung Tao was a highly educated scholar, a man whose intellect could have easily rivaled the great minds of the West. Having passed the provincial exams with ease, like acing the SATs, LSATs, and Ivy League admissions all in one day, he had earned great respect. One afternoon, while resting from a mild illness, an unexpected visitor knocked on his door. A man, dressed in dignified robes of ancient times, held out an official letter of summons and led a majestic horse, its forehead marked with a distinctive white patch. "Mr. Sung Tao, you have been called for a special examination," the messenger said in a calm, steady voice. Sung raised an eyebrow in surprise. "But the chief examiner hasn't even arrived. Why the rush?" The messenger, silent, motioned toward the horse. With a resigned sigh, Sung climbed onto the saddle, and in an instant, they galloped through a landscape that felt strangely out of place, roads blurring into unfamiliar terrain. Soon, they arrived at an awe-inspiring city, where towering monuments and shining spires seemed both earthly and celestial, like a place where the power of gods met the ambition of humankind. Inside an opulent hall, resembling a Supreme Court chamber, a panel of officials sat in judgment. Among them, Sung saw one figure who stood out, an imposing man, a legendary warrior, revered in myths and legends like the founding heroes of nations. His presence radiated wisdom and power. The room was filled with an air of authority, polished wood tables, flickering lanterns casting long shadows, and the faint scent of old parchment. At the front of the room, 2 chairs awaited. One was occupied by a calm, scholarly gentleman, deep in quiet contemplation. Sung sat in the second seat, where fine writing brushes and ink were laid before him. Both candidates were given the same philosophical prompt: 1 person, 2 persons, with intention, without intention. Sung pondered the question for a moment before dipping his brush into the ink. He wrote confidently, "When someone acts with pure intention, even if the outcome isn't perfect, it often ends up helping many people. But when actions are driven by selfish motives, even if they seem noble, they end up hurting both the person and others. On the other hand, mistakes made without bad intentions, though harmful, should be met with understanding and forgiveness." The calm scholar across from him also picked up his brush and wrote his own answer in a similar, thoughtful manner. Both their responses were handed to the judges, who began reading in silence. A hush fell over the room as the judges read their words. After a long moment of silence, soft murmurs of approval rippled through the assembly. The legendary warrior leaned forward, his face unreadable. "Mr. Sung, we have a position that needs filling. There is an opening for a guardian angel in the land of Hunan. You are to take up this role." A guardian angel? Sung's heart skipped a beat. He had heard of such celestial roles, watching over mortals, guiding them through life's challenges. It was an honor beyond compare, akin to serving on the highest court of the afterlife. But as much as he was honored, his thoughts turned to his aging mother. He bowed deeply, his voice filled with respect. "I am deeply honored, but my mother is in her 70s. She has no one else to care for her. I humbly ask for permission to stay by her side until she has lived out her years." The officials exchanged knowing glances, then called forth a long-bearded attendant. The man opened an enormous tome, the Book of Fate, and flipped through its pages until he found Sung's entry. "Her time is recorded as 9 more years," the attendant announced. There was a brief, solemn silence. Then, the warrior nodded decisively. "Very well. Scholar Chang will assume the post for now, and you shall be granted leave for 9 years, in recognition of your filial piety. After that time, you will receive another summons." Sung bowed low, feeling immense gratitude well up inside him. Scholar Chang, who had been seated across from him, placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "We shall meet again, my friend." As they left the grand hall, Scholar Chang handed Sung a small poem, a parting gift. With a gentle smile, he introduced himself, "I come from the land of Blue Mountain, where the peaks rise high and the rivers flow calmly. May our paths cross again." Sung could only recall a fragment of the poem later. With wine and flowers, we enjoy the passing hours in an eternal spring. When the night has no moon or light, you yourself must be the shining ray. Before he could respond, the world around him began to blur. He awoke in his own home, his body weak and drained. He realized that he had been unconscious for 3 long days. His mother, hearing his movement, rushed to his bedside, tears of relief shining in her eyes. Sung, still groggy, sat up slowly and asked, "What day is it? Has it really been 3 days?" His mother looked at him, confused by his question, but replied, "Yes, my son, it's been 3 days since you returned. Why do you ask?" After a moment of silence, Sung's curiosity grew stronger. He remembered Scholar Chang's words, the mysterious poem, and his mention of coming from the land of Blue Mountain. He had to know more. In the days that followed, Sung quietly inquired around town about the place. To his astonishment, an old merchant told him that just a few days prior, a man named Scholar Chang had passed away at the very moment Sung had returned to his home. The merchant added that Scholar Chang was from a distant land known as Blue Mountain, a place where the river ran calm, and the peaks rose high. Sung felt a shiver run through him. The connection was undeniable. Scholar Chang's soul had already moved on, and yet his encounter with Sung had been a fateful parting gift, a bridge between 2 realms. 9 years passed, as fate had foretold. Sung's mother peacefully passed away. After her funeral, Sung entered his chamber, purified himself, and prepared to join her in the afterlife. That evening, his wife's family, living near the western gates of the city, witnessed an extraordinary sight. A grand procession of celestial chariots and horses, their red-tasseled bridles shimmering in the twilight, moved toward them. At the head of the procession rode Sung, his posture regal, his expression serene. He made a final solemn bow before vanishing into the air, his form fading into the heavens. Only later did the family learn that, at that very moment, he had passed from the mortal world. And so, Sung Tao, the scholar, the son, and now a guardian angel, took up his celestial duties at last.